What's up, dudes? Welcome back to another episode of Rhomas Men's Team. Pretty simple. We are a group of guys helping each other make progress towards each other's goals. If you're new to the channel, awesome and welcome. If you want to help support the channel and join our pro team, head over to rhomasteam.com/pro, where you can contribute to us on a donation basis. We also give you access to exclusive content, mastermind groups, etc., etc. So anyway, hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you on the team. Mr. Beast, what's going on, brother?
Life is good, Wes. It is sweater weather. It is jacket weather.
Dude, I am actually a little jelly of that right now. That is probably my favorite weather of all time. Is like
you love a good sweater.
September and a half back on the East Coast in the US is just amazing. Like September plus like 15 days in October, perfect.
Right, and you can do like kind of 4 seasons in one day or something. If I stand in the shade, I'm freezing. If I stand in the sun, I'm nice and hot. So it's great, and it just gets worse. So like, I'm remaining present and mindful and cherishing the outdoors. And I have the luxury of being completely lost in a park right now. I know I parked just at the border of the park, but I have no idea. I really don't remember this. Anyway, so nice day for a walk in the park.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous out there, man. Yeah. So what's going on, brother? So you are showing. How old your daughter? She
turns 10 next month.
Okay.
And it's, just to prove how good our program is, the program that you and Matt McCusker created. Like, for the first time, I was running laps and not complaining, but absolutely loving it.
Really?
And I'd already been to the gym for a workout this morning, but it's just like any opportunity to exercise is an opportunity to stack a win.
Yeah, and what I'm getting to now, we're building a new office space. So it's pretty cool. It's torn down to the studs, so we get to like literally build it from the ground up. And one of the things I'm going to be building is a functional office. So it's going to be like 70% focused on fitness, 30% office. So standing desk, treadmill desk, pull-up bar, dips,
awesome,
all that kind of stuff. And then whiteboards all around, so I can actually, and like huge monitors all around on the wall. So that way I can just basically maintain fluidity and standing position as much as I want.
Amazing.
Yeah. So there's a great
look at the colors here. See that?
Oh yeah,
that bright orange. Podcast.
Yeah. So so we are.
No, sorry. You said there's a podcast called.
Oh yeah, there's a great podcast that I just listened to from Ben Greenfield was interviewed. And let me look at it real quick.
Remind me who he is.
So Ben Greenfield is one of like the OG biohackers, but pretty smart guy in my opinion. Okay. Like really, really does his research. Just came out with another book, I think relatively recently. But let me look it up. I sent it to my assistant yesterday. And in there, he just riffs on a whole bunch of great topics, including, and I was curious about this for a while, basically human-based photosynthesis. And I was always curious about that, like whether or not...
So turning light into food the way a plant does.
Yeah, and like some sort of energy creation from the sun via a mechanism. So he kind of riffed on that yesterday, and a lot of the stuff went, like I have to sit down and actually like pay attention and read it. But it was called Ben Greenfield on Finding Boundless Energy with Chris Lieto, in case anybody is interested. And it says episode 4, but I don't think that's really it. So actually, sorry, this was 2 years ago, but I thought it was legit. But anyway,
it still has wheels. It's still relevant. That's the best kind of content.
Yeah, he explains why grounding works. He explains why getting energy from the sun works. But anyway, the reason I bring it up is because you're about to enter into I would say a long period of time. What do you think? Probably 4 months,
2 years,
5 months?
2 years of 2 years without the sun, right?
Yeah.
No, Wes, very appropriate, because like every winter, I feel like it'll never end. And every summer, I forget how cold the winter is. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm stuck in this kind of like amateur cycle of like not being prepared or not exploiting the benefits of winter or hacking it to survive the downside.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So in there, they talk about, I think it's like infrared panels. So you might want to look at that. I don't have a need for it out here in California. I would if I live back east.
No, my homie who has we talked about cold plunge, right? My homie who has an art client and a dear friend who has a cold plunge. He also has one of those. I'll post a picture of me. It looks like I'm at a rock concert with just like the red lights. And he's got one of those. And it looks like I said last time, it looks like it's about the size of a flat screen TV in portrait mode. And you just blast yourself with these kind of red light bulbs.
Yep, exactly. So that might be something to consider. ASB, what's up, brother? What's up, Miguel? What's up, Shane? What's up, Jordan? Donovan, what's up?
Don, the OG.
And Dima, what's up, brother? So let's riff on the last section to tidy up the last section of The War of Art, in case any of the dogs are reading it with us. Yeah. It is one of my all-time favorite books.
It's in the car. I don't know where the car is. So okay. I'm just going to have to go on just kind of memory here, but it's book one was like, and book one and book two were like defining the resistance and understanding the resistance, and book three is conquering the resistance.
Yep.
And so maybe what are your thoughts on that, and maybe you can tell us how you conquer the resistance.
Yeah, so, and we've talked about this before. So number one, we've already defined the resistance. Resistance, for anybody who's just tuning in, is just like any sort of like resistance that usually fear-based that gets in your way of executing on your craft. That's the first thing.
Give me a list of the way the shapeshifter resistance can attack you.
Oh, dude, I mean, it could literally, like, for me, it could be anything. It could be, like, for instance, I'm going to start doing more videos right now. I just talked to Lucas last night about it. So it could be anywhere from, like, oh, I'm not good enough, or, oh, I've got other stuff to do, or
prioritizing the wrong stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. So insecurity.
Yep. Exactly.
And then procrastination's an obvious one.
Yep. And I get, oh, I need to spend my time elsewhere. Like, all of a sudden, different priorities pop up. When I know this is really the reality, but then my brain says, oh, no, I have got to deal with this client thing over here. I got to do this, and this.
Right. Letting like various dramas kind of like suck up your bandwidth, like neighbor drama, romantic partner drama, family drama, right?
Yep. Yeah. Kaizen, what's up, brother? And also like food for me, the gym, and I honestly, the most sneaky ones for me are the also productive things. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I didn't get out and do my half-hour walk right now, so I should do that before I do the video. And then all of a sudden, I do the half-hour walk, and it's like, oh, I got to do a little bit of yoga. So, like, that's honestly, that's the sneakiest thing, because you can tell yourself, it's like, oh, yeah, but I'm getting other stuff. I'm getting really important stuff done.
Right.
So those are examples of the resistance. Then how do you get through it? My key to getting over resistance, that I'm not always successful, is what I've told you guys for a long time. I give myself two options. I set a timer. I go into the dojo, which we can talk about that because that was also listed in this book. I go into the space where I'm going to complete the work. I set a timer, and I only give myself two options: either do the work or be bored. And that's it. Because my brain works off of like a contrasting mechanism. It's like, I wish I could say, oh, I just love to go in and do the hard stuff. But I only tend to do the hard stuff when I'm avoiding something harder. And for me, avoiding boredom, I will do at all costs. Like, I despise being bored. So if the only other option is being bored, which in my opinion for me is harder, then I will do the less hard actual work.
Word. And then, so that's right. And the author's new book, remind me the author's name? Stephen Pressfield. His new book is Put Your Ass in the Chair. Or it's like, put your ass where your heart wants to be. And so that's like, again, it's like, if you want to be an author, you have to sit in front of the typewriter or laptop, because you're not going to write that book if your ass isn't in the chair.
Yep.
And my version of what you do, I discovered a long time ago, was I didn't act on it necessarily, but it was like, if you want to study, go to the library where you're surrounded with like-minded individuals. If you want to work out, go to the gym where you're surrounded by like-minded individuals, and use that as an accountability mechanism. We can learn and master anything on YouTube for free, but without that accountability, I, for one, don't do it. So that's my version of what you just talked about.
Well, and if you ever read the book, we should read the book called Persuasion by Robert Cialdini.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of the most recognized books ever on persuasion. The second book they wrote was called Persuasion, which actually, you could just read that and don't have to read the first book called Influence. In there, he talks about how, I think it was like there were studies done that showed that 75 to 85% of activity is not activity, it's actually reactivity. So you're reacting to environmental stimulus. So the example that I always use is like, tell me about the last time you went to the gym and you took a nap. Chances are you've never done that, right? Because the environmental stimulus is so strong.
Exactly.
Right? Versus, I can tell you a million times that I took a nap when I was supposed to do a home workout. Because I've got the bed there, I've got the couch there, I've got the refrigerator there, etc.
You got the carbs that kind of make you doped up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And so another thing I do is I bring I've got a bit of a cash flow problem right now because I paid for all of the gallery expenses in advance before selling a single painting, but I'm still racking up hours with my assistant because having my assistant next to me is that environmental activation that you just talked about.
Yep. Totally.
Right? I'm not going to sit there and nap. I'm not going to sit there and not work.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so even though it costs, again, so just like the gym, right? Like it costs money.
Yes.
But it's not going to happen without it.
100%. And then in the book, the final thing I think to wrap up this book is he talks about the dojo basically, right? Like where is the workspace? And for you, and the more you keep that sacred. So if you ever go to like a hardcore old school jujitsu gym or just any sort of martial arts gym, usually what they do is they have a protocol to enter on the mat. Like you go to the edge of the mat, you take off your sandals, you bow to the center of the mat, you bow to the instructor, and then you enter onto the mat. And then you do the same thing in reverse when you leave the mat. And I actually really like that. A lot of guys now don't like that because it seems too formal, but I like it because it represents an invisible door frame that you're about to walk into where you only behave a certain way when you're on that mat. And then you're excused from that behavior. There's no more that discipline, that type of discipline, when you exit the mat. So I like to do the same thing, like literally, like I will either get on one knee or I will bow before I go into my office, as crazy as that seems. And as many people are like, what the fuck are you doing? It just puts me into a different frame when I'm about to go into the dojo.
Yeah, and Pressfield says he does the prayer to the muse that Ulysses does. Right? Which is like, oh, ye gods, imbue with me the divine inspiration or whatever his, right? So like he does, so that prayer or that incantation or whatever you want to call it is not unique to the dojo. It's like, it's probably universal across cultures.
Yeah. And this gets into, I still want to do this, but COVID kind of messed up these plans. And Kaizen probably know. Actually, Kaizen, I'd be curious to know, or if any of you guys have studied this, NLP. Has anybody on the squad actually formally studied NLP or like gone to a seminar? Oh, Kaizen, I'm going to bring you on if that's cool.
Word.
Because I knew he would have.
I'll do third chair. Yeah, Kaizen can do second chair. That's no problem.
No, have you
don't have to ask.
NLP?
No, you don't have to ask.
Hey dudes, sorry for the interruption here. Just wanted to let you know if you want to join our pro team, go to romasteam.com/pro. You can help support the channel. You will also get access to exclusive content, masterminds, one-on-one sessions, etc. All right, back to the episode.
It is basically NLP, like a quick little summary from my understanding, is basically like motivation encoded. So it's like, what's the formula for motivation? How do you anchor yourself? How do you like have these certain triggers to do A, B, and C?
Right.
Kaizen, what's up, brother?
Like Huberman talks about dopamine and serotonin, and one of them being the motivation drug in your brain.
Yeah. So I can't speak to it. I can't articulate it very well. So Kaizen in sniper mode right now, dude. I love it.
Put down the rifle with the scope.
Yeah. So Kaizen, if you don't mind, can you give the dogs and myself included maybe a summary on what NLP is? And have you actually taken, like, did you go to a seminar, et cetera?
No, when I was first getting into the the PUA stuff back in like 2010, I went super heavy into reading all the books that were recommended at that time. So NLP, if you don't know the acronym, linguistic programming. Yep. So it's like programming. If you think about like programming for a computer, it's treating your brain the same way. So when you look at like a brain, like if you look like a toy or just any picture where it shows the folds in that is similar to like on a circuit board of a computer, the pathways for the circuits on there, your brain is the same way. So when you do a certain behavior, that is like ingraining those lines in your brain and strengthening that connection so it goes faster. So the way that I would explain that is like when you were first learning to tie your shoes, you had to think about doing it. And now I would imagine for most people, it's unconscious competence where you don't have to think about it. You just automatically like do it. So within the context of like NLP, the study and practice of it for the most part is heavy in like sales and persuasion. So it's like priming people to do a certain behavior or react a certain way to whatever stimulus that you're setting up. So if you think about it in like a sales context, it's like a funnel. You're setting up certain things for people to basically like fall down into the sales funnel. So like one thing that people would do, like one of the easiest ones, they would say like a yes ladder. Like you get people to say yes repeatedly over and over. So you start off with like saying simple things, like getting them just to agree to things. And when we were doing sales, they would call it tie downs. So you would explain something to somebody and then you say, does that make sense? And you're getting them in the habit of just saying yes. And you just keep doing that over and over and over until at the very end, when you're actually like pitching the deal, you're like, okay, well, this is how much it's going to cost. And here's what it'll take. Does that sound good to you? You ready to sign up? And at that point, they've already said yes 10 times. And it's like at number 11, it's a lot easier for them to say yes than it is to say no. That's just like the most simple way I would explain that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, basically, for those of you who know Tony Robbins, I mean, he went and studied from Richard Grinder and Richard, I forget what their names were, but basically, that like almost a lot of the stuff, if not all of what he does, is NLP, just in a different brand, from my understanding. So it can even come down to like creating your environment and making sort of like subliminal suggestions and like anchoring. So every time you reference something, you can anchor it to a positive thing or to a negative thing. The hand gestures that you use. If you ever go to a Tony Robbins seminar, oftentimes he'll do what Kaizen says, like everybody say yes, or like he'll clap his hands, or like I forget what else he does. He does like this whoosh thing, and he used to do it. I actually do a lot of it like formally on video, but I don't think he teaches actual NLP a lot anymore. I think it's more of like in the background of what he does.
Guys, aren't you glad I found the car?
Totally. 3 hours later.
You're supposed to say yes. Sorry, that was a game.
Absolutely. Did you actually find it? Because you seem like you're still walking. Is it like within eye distance?
Yeah, it's right there.
Oh, nice.
Silver. The silver bullet.
I love it. Okay, so let me ask you guys this: what book should we read next, or should it be a YouTube video? What any suggestions that have been really profound for you guys? And or genres of topics, because right now I'm reading The Body Keeps the Score, and it's pretty interesting.
I want to, I just want to put this out there for October. I want to talk, or just before October, I want to talk about Sober October, and allow some of the dogs the space to tackle that without, without the stigma of I have a problem, I need to quit or whatever. So that is my slightly off topic desire for a broader topic, but in the remaining but in the meantime, please Kaizen and Wes, recommend a book or topic.
Well, yeah, why don't we chat about that, Ray?
Okay?
And I'm sorry, I forgot that you mentioned you want to chat about that. So
yeah, no problem. But that's the topic. That's if I can propose one.
Yeah, give the guys an idea of what Sober October is, and maybe a way that we can all participate.
Right.
Because I'm thinking I could probably not do like cookies or some sort of sweets or something, which yeah, exactly, dude. I just had Levain's bakery cookies, which I'm sure ASB knows what that means. So I've done a bunch of research on what the best chocolate chip cookie is in the United States, and Levain's came up repeatedly on every single list. So I had my assistant
Excel
order.
spreadsheet? Are we talking spreadsheets?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. No, I'm serious. Yeah, because we're sending them to clients. So so I graded them, etc. And I actually say I think Levain's is really good, but I don't think it's the best I've ever had. So I just ordered them. I ate literally 4, and these things are like 3 pounds a piece. So anyway, so Ray, what is Sober October, and what is a way that we could all participate?
Okay, Sober October, Dry July, Movember when you don't shave your mustache. It's just it is a calendar-based, humorous rhyming name for a positive behavior. The reason I'm called to action is because a friend of mine called me today, and I'm gonna her anonymity is very important to her. So, and that's an important part of the 12-step programs. So that she's not in, but she's like, I'm spiraling. I drink too much. You know, my self-esteem sucks. My my marriage isn't where I want it to be. And so instead of like handcuffing her to my hand and bringing her to rehab or something, I thought maybe I should try Sober October, because she has a partner like me. She has a partner who isn't on a sobriety journey, right? So, but if you can gamify it, right? There's a 30-day challenge or whatever, right? And then maybe put a prize at the end. I think that's I think all of the dogs would know that Joe Rogan does a Sober October with some of his hard partying colleagues, right? Like it's like Ari Shaffir and Bert Kreischer or other guys like that. So that's it. The simple definition is it's 31 days without drinking, and sober rhymes with October. So it's dry January, maybe after New Year's is another one that people do. But maybe it's like so that you don't spiral into the drunkest holiday, like, right? The drunkest kind of like so you're not drinking because you're not drinking every day till Thanksgiving, and because you're guaranteed to drink every day from Thanksgiving to Christmas, right? So it's just it's like the way you say, Wes, like if ab season is in June, you need to start doing sit-ups in April or something.
Yep.
So that's Sober October. Let me have your input on that, guys.
Then what are your thoughts, brother?
So I think the perfect, and I've already sent it. I don't know if Ray's had a chance to check it out yet, but there's a book called Levels of Energy by Frederick E. Dodson. It's on Audible. You can find the PDF pretty easily. So
Levels of Energy?
Yeah, Levels of Energy by Frederick E. Dodson, Dodson. So I've gone through that book probably like 3 times now. And I think it lines up perfectly with like Sober October. And if you want to go more extreme, there's No Nut November, where you don't have no porn all November. So that one leads into the other. That book, I think it helps it helped me, I should say, understand why people feel compelled sometimes to want to not be sober, basically. And it's
give me that title and author again.
Yep, I sent it to you.
I know, bro. This is why I'm it's no excuses. I'm doing it this time.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'm going to share it with my dear friend who reached out for help today. That's why. Yep. So shame on you. Shame on you, Kaizen.
Levels of Energy by Frederick E. Dodson, Dodson.
I think we have our book, Wes.
I'm in.
It's not a real long book either. Like on Audible, I'm looking at it. It's 2 hours and 16 minutes. So I've listened to it a couple times. But what they talk about is like everybody has these different levels of energy that you kind of like fall into. So when you're in like real low level energy, that's when you're more susceptible to like outside things, like basically like what advertisers are looking for their like prey, basically like people that are easily manipulated into buying or acting a certain way.
By themselves or
alcohol
others.
Advertisers are trying to get these people to make them feel like they need this to be able to feel happy instead of like being happy without like this outside stimulus, whatever that may be, a substance or
I think of the mainstream media right away when you talk about that kind of like manipulation. If you make them feel shitty, they'll tune in again tomorrow.
Because so they talk about it in the book. There's like a lot of different levels. He uses like numbers to kind of like talk about the levels that people fall into. But basically it's like you're either going up or you're going down. So certain things will like, it's like excuse making behavior will kind of set you up in a way. So like what you were just saying, if you start drinking in October and then you're in that same habit of, well, I mean, I just had a drink. I'm just gonna, or like Friday, the weekend, that's my drinking time. All of a sudden that leads into more, well, it's Tuesday, or I had a rough day, or it's more like excuse momentum building behavior. And then that will make it easier for you to like spiral in a certain direction, either up or down.
Do you know Shane's bit on this, right? Where it's like his dad is like, he's drinking because it's Monday Night Football.
Oh yeah.
But it's football. And then the Tuesday he's drinking and the wife's like, why are you drinking? He's like, because there's no football. Yeah. Right.
There's so much depth within this book, and it's a short book, so it's not like you can't go through it. I would say like if you're just listening to it in the car or like maybe in the morning or something when you're getting ready for work or whatever, you can blast right through it. And then it's all basically like talking about things either like are elevating your level of energy. So the level of energy would like be tied directly to like your mood, your productivity, the way that you look at things in the world, the way that you interact with other people, your relationships, things like that. So there's things that are either like elevating that or it's lowering it. So like certain types of music, obviously, if they have a positive or negative connotation, whatever level that they kind of like fall into, there's like the example of what made me think of Ray when I was listening to it was they were talking about like going to art galleries or museums. That is supposed to like raise your level of energy. And there's like certain activities, like if you're as a couple like painting or doing like creative things, it's supposed to raise
activity-based quality time.
Yeah. All of these like activities are supposed to build the energy levels that you're into. And it's something that I think the more that you become aware of, it's easier to kind of like see in different things. So you start to see like, okay, this type of person falls within this level of energy, and you can start to be able to accurately predict behavior that way. So if like somebody's at a lower level, maybe they do things that might not necessarily be correlated with people at like higher levels. So maybe people that are like more likely to steal or do crimes are within this level. Maybe more people that are in like a more altruistic doing like charity work or things like that, or at a different level. And then he gives you tons of examples of people and different archetypes at each different level. And they start at the lowest end and then go all the way up to the highest end. And I think it makes it easier for you to kind of like look at your own life and see maybe where do I fall at? What habits am I putting in place that are either putting me up or down in energy levels? And then how to kind of build off of that and use that knowledge in a way that it would help you get to whatever it is that you're wanting to get to. So like it's looking at things and being like, is this going to help me get to the goals that I want, or is it going to hurt or impede in the progress that I'm trying to make?
Yeah, and Kaizen, it brings up the conversation of every time like I go into like a let's say a larger mastermind where there's like an ultra successful dude. I swear every single one of those guys, they always bring in like vibrations and energy. Like it's like, hey, I'll teach you about all this like tactical stuff, but I'm telling you, it's like, are you on the right wavelength? Do you have the right vibrations? Are you bringing the right energy to the table? Because all output is just a function of the nucleus energy, right, being expressed. So this, I think this is the book that you're talking about, right?
Yep.
Yes, Levels of Energy. I posted it to the Discord. I posted it to the chat section here. So Ray, if you're cool with it, brother, why don't we have that be the next book? And as obvious as this sounds, I think a lot of dudes like might struggle with reading. So please, feel free to get the audiobook too. I think if you can get 10% through osmosis of just like putting the audiobook on the background, that's way better than 0% of the book that you didn't read because you didn't open it, So, and then we can talk through the cracks that maybe you didn't get on the audiobook on here. So that's what I do for a lot of books. And Kaizen, you might be similar. Ray, you might be similar. But I think audiobooks are a godsend.
100. Yeah, Kaizen, when you were talking, like I thought of the scorecard, right? And the way we stack wins. Just like that general says, make your damn bed. At least you have one win that you're starting your day with. And then when you said habits, that like was exactly it, right? Like, because what is the scorecard? It's 10 daily habits that keep you on the path of progress, right? Like what my friend reached out for help, and she's like, I'm spiraling, I'm drinking too much. My marriage isn't where I want to be. My career isn't where I want to be. I feel like a fraud. I feel like low self-esteem, and I don't know what she should change when she has to change everything, right? But she can stack wins, and she can change her habits. Yeah. So I'm excited to dig into this book and munch on it in order to better understand her journey and how I can help her.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And by the way, if anybody ever has any friends they want to come on and like maybe go on the hot seat here and have some dudes support them, even we'll break the He-Man's Woman Hater Club code for like a day if she wants to come on. So that invitation is extended to her as well. I wanted to share some with you guys if you're cool with that. Mm-hmm. I just got back from a conference last week where I'm pretty sure I picked up the vid because 3 out of the 4 people that we were with all got COVID, and I tested negative for it twice, but like had a migraine for 4 days and so on. So anyway, but the cool thing that I got from Vegas was, I don't know if you guys know Daniel Pink, the author, outstanding author. He's kind of like an older sort of like a Malcolm Gladwell. So he's written probably 4 or 5 New York Times bestsellers. But anyway, he was the speaker at one of the events. And he is now studying regret, which I thought to be pretty interesting. You know how Brene Brown will pick like a more general topic, but her research is so good. You're like, oh shit, like vulnerability. I never really thought about the depth of vulnerability or truth. I never thought about the depth of truth. So what Daniel Pink is studying right now is regret. So he's going hardcore into like taking surveys on regret and what people are regretful for. And one of the big things that he talked about that really resonated with me, and I think I would like to share with all you guys, is he said people often regret playing the game not to lose rather than playing the game to win. So they're playing the game to avoid failure rather than to win. Is that your kid, Kaizen, in the background? So
that's my pronoun, bubba.
Yeah. So I think I'd like for everybody to like reflect on that. I've reflected on it. I was like, in what areas am I playing just to not to lose rather than playing to take the rewards, if that makes sense? Because I think oftentimes we do that. And especially think the more we become successful, the more we have to lose. So we start to skew our activity towards not being as much on offense and way more on defense. What do you guys think about that?
That's so if you're using like a sports analogy, you see it all the time. If a team goes up, this just happened this last week. Like there was two games where the team blew a huge lead.
21 point lead in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So what happens is these teams will go up and then they start
against the
playing.
Jets. I think one of them was the Jets who came back from 21 points.
The Browns.
The Jets and the Browns. Like, if you don't need any other information to know that the apocalypse is coming, the Jets and the Browns overcame 20-point deficits to win.
So risk adverse, exactly. So what'll happen a lot is these teams will go up a little bit and then they start playing really conservative. So they'll play prevent, where they're allowing a lot more of ground to be made, but they're trying not to give up the big play. But
and just run down the clock.
Yeah, allows these teams to just slowly chip away at wherever position that they're trying to get in. And within the other context, it could be, I just saw something on this where these people are saying, like, maybe you get to a career level and then the career that you're at, you start like, okay, well, I'm going to buy this car, I'm going to buy this house. And all of a sudden you're making a lot more money, but you still have all of these debts that at this point now, even though you're making more money, if you were to lose that position, you have all of these debts and you're in more of like a fear mindset. You're basically like in a scarcity mindset. Whereas before you were trying to like go to a higher level. So if you're not like playing to win, you're like playing to not lose. You're playing to not get fired instead of to play to either get a promotion or to grow your business or to grow your career or whatever it is that you're like trying to seek. Maybe you're just trying to maintain instead of like trying to grow. Maybe you're just trying to appease the partner that you're with instead of trying to like grow together with that partner. And it could be, that's like one of those concepts that's like universal that you can see in one little thing and then expound on that in like all these different areas, but that's super deep.
Ray, do you feel like you're doing that currently in any area of life?
Oh yeah, man. And it doesn't have to be not lose, right? Like Kaizen said, there's a million different versions of this. It's like playing for validation or approval, right? By playing to not lose is me sending out emails. Playing to win is sending out an email and a follow-up phone call saying, hey, did you get my message? Just checking, which is way more embarrassing.
Right. What's the percentage to which you're playing for the optimal reward? Right. Like, so you're playing for the trophy, not second place, not, oh, we just made the playoffs or whatever. It's like, no, you're playing for the actual trophy.
Settling, right?
Dude, and a lot of these things are subtle, and especially when you are an ambitious A player, you can fool everyone else around you. So it's only up to you to actually judge how hard you're playing. Like, dude, I can tell you, I ran into this recently. Like, the business is doing outstanding. The workshops are doing outstanding. There was for an inch of time, I was like, okay, like my brain was like, I could kind of coast for like, and I say this respect, like for years. Like I don't know if we've got to do any more marketing activity ever, right? We just kind of nurture these clients that we currently have. And then an inch later, I was like, no fucking way. Like that is toxic mindset, because I think people tend to overestimate maintenance mode. I personally, I even like to think that maintenance mode is just a myth. Like I do know that technically it can exist, but I think that like the law of atrophy is so intense that we tend to underestimate it. Like your muscles will atrophy at a rate that you don't anticipate, or like things like that.
Your bank account will atrophy at like a rate that you're.
Yeah, exactly. No, there's no doubt about it. So it's like, so then literally I probably went back on the other extreme. So I went and I spent, I signed us up for $40,000 worth of marketing expenses, like that, like almost out of like fear that I would fall back too much onto the defensive side. So I met with a branding person actually yesterday, and she, like, I thought her quote was going to be like 8,000. Apparently it's 20,000. So, but I refuse. And I think we should all refuse as men to ever take the easy road because we think we can coast. We have to out-offense our problems because the problems just get bigger. We just have to get bigger exponentially bigger in relation to those problems.
100. And I was wondering if like, so when you're defining it, like, are you playing not to lose or are you playing to win? I was like thinking, well, obviously I'm playing not to lose. So what's the fix?
Yeah.
But then listening to you, I was wondering if it's a mindset, if mindset is the fix. And you mentioned that word. What do you think of that, Kaizen?
Yeah. It's I would say, like the old adage, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're like ASB saying, like your natural inclination is to not use as much energy. Like humans as a whole, we want to conserve energy. We want to not expound as much energy, because back in the like caveman days, that would mean if you used all this energy and you didn't have the resources available to feed your body to refuel it, you could just burn yourself out and then you die quickly. Versus now, where it's not the case, but we still have these old evolutionary things in our brain and our DNA that like kind of tell us that like, all right, this is what leads to people being 800 pounds, needing a crane to take them out of their house is, okay, gather resources, put resources in my body, don't use as much energy as possible. It's like a broken computer, basically. So if you like switch that thing in your brain to kind of like be aware of, okay, am I doing that? Is this extreme example, can that be broken down into whatever like little thing here or little thing there, this like 2-3 second decision that I'm making that could lead to another decision going in this path, another decision going in this path. There's like a quote. It's from, I forget which Bruce Lee movie it is, but where he's talking about like when you're shooting an arrow, if you're trying to shoot it at the moon, if you're off by like a little bit in the very beginning, you can just completely miss it.
So that's just a great analogy.
Yeah, isn't that great? Wes, when I heard you talk, I wondered if mindset was the fix. What's your thoughts on that?
So I have a mental model that I use for this that I find to be very effective. I call it the number one competitor avatar. So, and this helps solve it for me dramatically. Like, what is the number one competitor? So who is the guy? And it's always a freaking guy for me. It's like some evil, like, you know, whatever that black Spider-Man guy is. What's that? Venom, you know? I always envision like some sort of Venom-like character.
Black costume. Go ahead.
Yes, yeah. An ASB's comment. so, yes, black costume, the Venom, the character Venom.
The shadow Spider-Man, right? All the powers, but using it for evil.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, this helps it solve it every time. What is he doing? And then I just go and I try to do better than that. So, like, for instance, right now,
you don't have to hate that guy. Also, he doesn't have to be. No, he doesn't have. Like, I think of the best art galleries in Toronto who actually happen to be really nice guys as well, right? I can ask myself, what are they doing? You know, dude, are they juggling everything, or are they hiring people? Like, are they putting the art up on the walls, or are they spending the $200 and getting someone to make it perfect who's an expert?
Dude, I'm telling you, it sounds like such a simple mental model you can almost shrug it off. I use it at least once a week because my brain gets very tricky on me. It's like, oh yeah, like, could I do it better? But no, I'm doing a really good job. It's like, no, like, what is the number one dude in the space doing here, and what would he do? And I always get the answer immediately. It's like, of course he'd hire the top branding person. Of course he would. It's no question.
That 100% is this book.
Oh, Sam Walton.
Yeah, Made in America. Sam Walton. Oh, yeah. They said that when he was first building Walmart, that's what he would do. Is he would go and he's like literally crawling on his hands and his knees inside Kmart and Target and all these stores. At that point, he's already like, he's made. He's super successful at that point, but he's still looking at what his competitors are doing, which that made me think of, and I know people will laugh at it, but there's a book that DJ Khaled put out called The Keys. And in his he explained
DJ Khaled.
a lot of this stuff. He makes up like this invisible enemy, which I forget. There's people that have put terms to it of like they don't want you to have this. They don't want you to do this or that. And it's like you can think of things the exact same way where you're using the number one competitor. If you had an enemy, what would they be wanting you to do? Would they want you to make a mistake? Would they want you to take time off? Would they want you to not? If somebody was like trying to sabotage you, what would they do? And then do the opposite of that.
Yep. Love it. Yeah. Very similar mental model. I'm telling you, that helps cut through all the crap. It helps. It cuts down on excuses. It cuts down like, yeah, but like I'm doing really good, or the business is doing really well. It's like, no. What would the number one business do in this space? Or what would your number one enemy not want you to do? That just like very easily cuts through it, and like you have the answer right there. Then it's up to you to choose whether or not you want to go with that answer. But dude, that helps me easily on a weekly basis. Easily. Kaizen, anything right now that you're working on like in that genre?
So the hardest thing for me right now is building the skills that I'm trying to use is for me is like prioritization. And it's easy to get like, especially within like the programming world, it's like unlimited. There's so many different directions and so many different skills and languages that you can learn. It's kind of like trying to figure out prioritization of what to work on at what time. And so for me, it's staying dedicated to mastery of this one first before I start adding all the others. I have a base knowledge of a lot of these other ones, but I need to have the mastery number one of this one first, and then I can utilize that in different areas. So it could be universal in like whatever it is that you're trying to do. Like say you're trying to build a company, or say you're trying to build your career, what skill is like the one skill that you should focus on first, getting that dialed in 100% where you can honestly say, I have mastered this skill, and then you can start adding the other ones to it. Yep. Because like the old adage, master, I can't think, too caffeinated. You're like dabbler, you're dabbling in all these different little skills, but you have mastered none. So if you're dabbling, I think that's the hardest thing for, a lot of people, is you get tricked into the new shiny thing, the new shiny diet, the new shiny whatever. And instead of staying focused and dedicated on doing the hard work, the journey, the things that ultimately will build your career path the most, when you put that work in and keep doing it, instead of like looking at like a video game character or like a RPG where you're like building up all of these different other little levels, and you're still like a low level character, instead of like building this one all the way up.
Yep. Love it. So for you, Kaizen, it is maintaining what your number one competitor do is maintain hardcore focus on the nucleus skill and not move on to the next skill until you've mastered this current skill. And that would be a certain language in coding. Just out of curiosity, what language are you learning right now?
So I've used Python in the past, and Python is my favorite one of all the ones, but it's something that it can be used in so many different applications. So you can do like web development, you can do data science, you can do computer vision, you can do video games, you can do all kinds of different things, but it's all like what tools that you're adding on to that. But for me, it's like, I need to have a complete mastery of all of it first, to where it's like, I'm dreaming about it, I'm thinking about it. The way that I look at things, it's all related to that first. And then I can start adding all the bells and whistles to it.
Got it. Okay, awesome. So for me, it's branding, getting out there to the next level, thought leadership, etc., doubling down on that, hiring professionals. For Kaizen, it's focusing on that core skill, building from there. Ray, and we've got a couple more minutes here. What is it for you, my friend? What is your number one competitor doing that you are not, or you are playing the game not to lose rather than to win? He's stuck in profound thought. So if he comes back, Ray, I'm not sure, you probably lost service there, bro. Can you hear us? Oh, I think we're good. Kaizen, brother, thank you very much. I think Ray's probably in a bad service area right now. Thank you as always, and thank you for the book recommendation. So for those of you who missed it, it is called Levels of Energy. Get the audio book, or get the digital book, or get the physical copy book, and we'll start reading it as of Monday. I'll check it out this weekend. Kaizen, brother, appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Hey, I want just to add real quick, if anybody wants that book and you can't afford it, shoot me a message. I'll buy it for you. That's how strongly I believe in this book.
Hell yeah, I love it. Thank you, brother. All right, dudes. Later.